Welcome to my tutorial of TwinBee 3 for the Famicom. And this is the English translated version. And this was only released in Japan, so this is an exclusive NES game. But it's pretty good. It's quite a good game. I mean, it's definitely not perfect. There's a lot of flicker. So it is really easy to take damage because sometimes there's so much fucking flicker on the screen that you can't really see where the bullets are. So that is a big problem. So it can feel a little bit sloppy with that. But it's a pretty good game overall. You can take, I believe you die on the third hit. So I think you can take, 2 hits and then the third hit will kill you. And the way you can tell with your damage is I believe the wings come off your ship as you take damage. And I think when both wings come off, it means you're about to die. Now, every time you take 2 hits, you're going to hear this ambulance sound. And there's this little medical kind of icon that comes down. And you want to pick that up whenever you hear it. It's like an ambulance type of sound. You want to pick that up to restore your health fully. If you don't do that, then it's easy to get killed off. Another key to survival in this game is knowing what all the power-ups do. So you want the blue and white flashing bell is what you want. At all times, you want to try to maintain that because if you get the way it works with the power-ups is basically you shoot them to change them colors, and each color does something different. So if you get the bell to red and then collect it, you're going to get a laser, which is a pretty powerful weapon, but definitely not my favorite. I like the spread shot better. But basically, when you shoot the bell, it changes different colors. The blue bell will give you a speed boost. So if you collect too many of those, it becomes a big problem because then your ship moves super fucking fast, and I don't know any way to slow back down. So then your ship speed is going to be really high unless you die. So that is one negative to accidentally getting too many of the blue ones. But see, this blue and white one that you saw me try to collect again, that will give me a force, basically a shield around my ship that can take a few extra hits. And that's really the key to this game. This is on the default easy difficulty. It took me around 1 hour and 3 minutes to beat. And I set it to 10 live setting. This game doesn't have any continues. So whatever you set it to in the lives in the option menu is what it's going to be. But you can earn a few 1-ups. If you get 100,000 points, you'll get your first 1-up. So you may be able to earn 1 off of points. Occasionally you can pick up a 1-up. But yeah, with this boss, I like to have the spread shot. Now sometimes you may not see bullets coming out of my ship, but that's probably just because the recording doesn't pick it up for whatever reason. But I like the spread shot for this boss. I find this to be the best weapon for this boss. I'm not sure exactly which bell gives you the spread shot, so you may have to experiment with that. I didn't have them all memorized when I beat the game, but I had an idea of the ones that I really wanted. So the other colors is I think the white one gives you a double shot. But the most important bell to get is the blue and white flashing. When it flashes blue and then white, that's the one you really want. That's going to give you the shield around your ship. And the idea is to keep chaining those shields. For this, just move left to right using your spread shot once you've gotten it down to the last group of small enemies. As you kill this boss more and more, it starts to separate into smaller bald men that jump around. So you just want to, kind of stay to the side of them. And when they jump, you want to go under them. And when they get really small, just try to move left to right. As the cluster of bullets fires out, you want to move to the other side, basically. But yeah, basically like with the bells, you shoot them to change them colors. And if you shoot them enough, you're going to get certain bonuses. There's another, I think it's a blue and red flashing bell. I think that might be good to get too, but I don't remember what that did. I didn't really know what it did. I did look it up in a game fact, but I didn't remember everything that they did. Now, this is a bonus stage you can sometimes activate if you collected a certain item, I believe. But with the bells, in this stage, you can't shoot them to change them color, so you're not able to get all the different powers. But you can shoot them, and I think you can get more points that way. And like I said, when you get 100,000 points, you'll get your first 1-up. You can also choose which order the first 4 stages play in. You can do that in the options menu as well. And there's easy, which is the default that I'm playing on here, and there's hard mode. There's also another ship you can try, but I don't know if there's any differences with it. I just tried this one. But you're going to see me constantly trying to shoot the bells. You're basically doing a juggling act as you play this game. And you want to juggle the bells by shooting them and changing them colors. And, getting a specific color will give you the power-up that you want. So be aware of that. See, this is the blue and red flashing that I get sometimes, but I'm not sure what it does. But getting the blue, if you can get it to blue and white, as you see here, getting that will give you a shield around your ship. And I usually try to get it even when I have the shield, just in case, some of my health on my shield is depleted. I think it'll restore it back to full. And I try to keep it so that I always have a shield as much as possible. Because then when you don't have that shield, then you're definitely vulnerable. Another big thing to keep in mind with this game is that when you do die, if you don't manage to get the health pickup, and you do end up dying, because like I said, when your health gets low, an ambulance kind of cross thing comes out on the screen. You'll hear some music playing to indicate that it's on the screen. You want to try to grab it, get your health back, and you want to try to get that shield back as fast as possible. You want to shoot one of the bells and try to get it to the... it takes a lot of shots, but when it's flashing in the white and blue, that's when you can get the shield again. You want to try to maintain that. But if you do end up dying, you will respawn again. But when you respawn, you want to try to collect the ghost of where you last died. You'll see your ghost floating up. Try to recollect that if you're able to, because then you'll restore all your power-ups and speed-ups to where they were when you died. If you don't do that, you're going to start with the base ship, which happened to me later in the game, and that makes things a lot harder because it can take a long time to get powered up again, especially in the later stages. They get a lot more aggressive and a lot more dense. So if you lose your power-ups late game, you might be stuck with a weak ship for the rest of the game. So just be aware of that. I think that's what happened to me. I still was able to beat the final boss even with the weakest ship, but it's just something to try to avoid. Like I said, I think the key to this game is maintaining a force field around your ship for most of the game, and try to keep that for the whole game if you can. So for this boss, not much to say about this stage except, don't get hit, juggle the bell, survive, But for this, you can only take out, I think, the flashing enemy. So, shoot at the left one first, and I believe you'll see it flashing. So take out the left guy all the way on the left, then go to the one all the way on the right and take him out. And then you're just going to focus your ship on the middle. Now, the middle is strange because for some reason the middle guy doesn't flash when he's hit. So there's no way to tell that you're damaging him that I can see. But he is taking damage. So just keep shooting at him. And try to stay mostly in the center of the screen and shoot the projectiles that he drops down so they don't hit you. But try to stay mostly in the center and just keep hitting them. As long as you keep firing. I'm constantly firing, but the video is not showing it because I think it's the frame rate of the video might be conflicting with the actual footage or something. But I never stop firing in these games. So if you don't see my bullets, just know that they're there. Because there's never a reason to take your hand off the fire button. Now, this game doesn't have rapid fire. It has a regular shot and a bomb. Those are what your two buttons do. But the bomb is for hitting certain enemies that cannot be hit by the regular shot. They're usually background enemies. So be aware of that. I set both the regular fire and the bomb to rapid fire. So I just hold them down. I was playing on a joystick with turbo on both buttons. So I do recommend that. But yeah, I always hold those two buttons down at all times. I don't think I ever release those buttons. So there's no reason to stop firing. So now you see some bell juggling here. So this is a big part of the game. It's kind of juggling these bells and trying to get them to land on what you want, what power-ups you want. Now the yellow or golden bells are just for points. So, it can be useful eventually, but you're probably not going to get much more than 100,000 points on your first loop. So you may get one free life out of points on your first time through. I believe the game loops, though I'm not sure because I shut it off after I completed it. But it looked like it was looping again. It may be harder on consecutive loops, I'm not sure, but there is a hard mode. If I wanted to play the game harder, I would just set it to the hardest, but I wasn't real motivated to do it just because I feel like the game is kind of messy with all the flicker. It's just like it's kind of a big problem. A lot of shit is invisible, and sometimes the movement isn't really as tight as I would like. I think one issue is also that the hitbox on your ship is pretty damn big. I mean, this is far from a bullet hell shooter where you have a tiny hitbox and can squeeze between bullets. Your hitbox seems a little bit bigger than your ship, but I could be wrong on that, but a lot of times I got hit when I didn't think I should have. Now here's a 1-up here. Make sure you collect that 1-up that I missed. That would have been useful to get. I already had 11 lives at this point, so I was doing quite good, I think, at this point in the game. But you see now I'm starting to lose lives, and if I don't collect my see, now I collected my ghost, luckily. But you're going to see later I failed to collect my ghost after I die. And you'll see the consequences of that. My ship will be super slow and very weak. The laser is a good weapon. I think it does the most damage, but I don't like it too much because I find the spread shot is more effective for me most of the time. I don't... See, that was the ambulance thing I collected to get my health back. But the laser, I mean, you know, I don't know. I have mixed feelings about it. I think the spread shot was better for me overall, but I don't remember which bell gives you the spread shot. You may want to look that up in a game fact to see. Now, you'll notice there's a ghost by my ship, too. I believe that's what the blue and red flashing bell does. Now that I see that, I think that's what it does. It gives you a ghost on your side. I think that might give you extra bullets for certain types of weapons. Maybe that helps with the spread shot. I'm not exactly sure. So for this boss, what you're trying to do is, you see the teeth are gray. You want to shoot each tooth until it turns white, and then the boss dies. So each tooth is going to take multiple shots before it turns to white. And you're not seeing the bullets because of the way the video recorded, but, you know, keep in mind I am firing at all times. So just remember that. It would be helpful to see the bullets, but the idea is that you're going to shoot out all the teeth. And while you're doing that, you want to try to... I believe you can shoot out the hammers. But be careful because it's deceptive. You don't have full screen movement, so you can't go all the way down to the bottom of the screen to dodge some of the stuff. You would think you would have full screen movement, but it kind of limits you for some reason. So just be aware of that your movement is going to be cut off. I think the whole game is like that, if I remember right, but you're not getting the full use of the screen, so it is kind of awkward. But you mainly just want to shoot out all the teeth and, you know, try to avoid the hammers. You don't want to end up with the weaker weapons if you can avoid it. I can't even see what my weapon is here. I may already be downgraded by this point. Yeah, see, I'm back to the base weapon, and I lost all my speed ups because I didn't get my ghost when I died, so now my ship is moving slow and it's weak. But that's fine. You can beat the game like this if you need to. You'll see I beat the rest of the game pretty weak. So you can definitely beat it. It's not really what you want, though, but you can do it. The idea, though, is to try to juggle those bells and get that shield back as soon as possible. You really want to try to get that. That's like one of the things I'm focusing on, is trying to get my shield back. And then after I have the shield, I can focus on getting some more of the power-ups. But the shield is pretty much a priority because that will keep you alive for a long time if you can get it. And the shield is the blue, is when the bell starts flashing blue and white. So remember that. Get that. Shoot it until it does that. Now, the problem is if you shoot the bell too many times, if you shoot it an extra time, you're going to cycle it back to something else you don't want. So you do have to be careful with how many times you shoot the bells. And you do have to get a feel for when to stop firing. I guess, yeah, now that I think about it, that's when I stop. That's when I take my fingers off the firing button, is when I'm trying to collect a specific color of bell. You know, I'll stop shooting for a few seconds so the bell can come back down and I, can collect it. So that's really the only time I stop shooting, I think. But, yes, I mean, you do want to try to maintain that, but as you can see, I'm still playing it with the weak weapons. Now the bombs will hit stuff that's more in the background, like those blobs, which I recommend trying to take out as soon as possible. They fire a lot of bullets. You can see it does get pretty aggressive by this point. So you want to try to take out whatever you can. The trains, you really don't have to shoot the trains that have the cannons on them. You can just let them pass. You don't really have to take them out, but it helps to take out the blobs and the regular enemies. But you can see now I'm starting to take some deaths because I'm so weak at this point that I'm going to end up dying because I can't cover the whole screen as easily. I don't have that kind of movement to get across the screen and take everything out, and I have a shitty weapon. So that is the penalty. If you don't collect your ghost, you lose your power-ups, you can start losing a lot of lives. And that's when the game can get tricky. So you want to try to minimize that. But it does show that it is still possible to recover, as you can see. I probably mentioned this already, but the game doesn't have any continues. So whatever you set your lives to is what you have to work with. There's a few 1-up pickups, I believe, and you may get 1 off of points. I think I got 1 off of 100,000 points. So keep that in mind. This boss can be irritating because sometimes he appears super low on the screen, and I usually don't try to fuck with him when he's super low on the screen. The idea, though, is to try to stay in the middle of him when he pops up, and then just, fire maybe 2 or 3 shots, and then move out to the left or right. So I don't stay in the middle. I just let a few bullets hit and then move. That's my main strat, but sometimes he appears too low on the screen. So I was being patient and trying to get the right positioning with him, which didn't end up always working well. I didn't refine this playthrough at all, so I didn't really practice these parts a lot. I did a little bit of save state practice on the final stage only, just to kind of get an idea for it and for the final boss, but I didn't do heavy practice with that. I definitely didn't practice these bosses separately with save states. But I do recommend practicing the final stage at the very least. I was able to get to the final stage my first time playing the game with, set to 10 lives. So I just needed to refine that a little bit. I also, after I played, I checked the game fact to see what all the bells did and all the power-ups and shit, which I think I mostly covered, but there's probably a few extra pieces of information in that guide that you might find useful. But yeah, I'm trying to be patient here and not get in the middle of the guy when he's super low on the screen because I feel like he's going to run into me. But just be patient and, try to get a good positioning on it. I'm sure there's a faster way to do this. If I would have practiced it with saves, I could have played a lot more aggressively. But, without doing isolated practice, I didn't want to risk, draining a bunch of lives by being super aggressive. So I just played it real safe. But this is coming up near the end of the game now. It is a very short game. You gotta watch out for that straight laser too. That's why I try to move immediately. I try to get in the middle and then move out immediately when he comes up, just to get a few bullets in and then move. I know it's slow and tedious, but I felt like that was the safest way to do it, at least without practicing it separately. I didn't have any great strats, but yeah. So basically, this is going to be the last stage coming up, I believe. So, yeah, final stage. So, now my main strategy here was, as usual, to try to get that force field. That's the main strat in pretty much the whole game, is to try to get that force field when you don't have it. Try to get it back. So now I'm going to be working on that. I got to speed up. So my ship is back to speed 2, which is all you really need. One of the hardest parts about this game is getting too many fucking speed ups. And you just move so fucking fast, you're probably just going to crash into something and die. And that's a big problem. So yeah, I get that force field back, as you can see. It doesn't show up right away in this video, but I believe I have it. Maybe not. Unless it's not showing in the video. But the idea is, I should have got the force field from collecting that. It's possible I have it and it's not showing up because of the frame rate or some shit. It's weird how it records. This game looks a little bit off, but remember, the blue and white will give you that shield. See this? That gives you the shield, but I don't see it showing up. It's weird. It's not showing up in the video, but I'm certain it's there. So take my word for it. There's a 1 up there, by the way, so make sure you get that. I guess you don't have to collect the letters 1 up. I guess it just, when you collect that thing, it just says 1 up. But the cannons you cannot destroy, and the fans you cannot destroy. The fans will stun you, and then you'll end up getting hit. So stay away from the fans, and the cannons will outright kill you if that cannonball hits you. So watch where the ball is bouncing. This part can be tricky. The thing that worked best for me is 2 things. Staying mostly on the left side of the screen. For the final stage, I like to stay mostly on the left side of the screen. I found it safer in practice. I didn't practice it a ton, but what I did, I found I did better on the left side. And secondly is to keep that force field going. See, now it's showing up for some reason. But now I don't see it again, so I don't know if it's something with the recording. But the idea is to keep that shield going on your ship. You do not want to lose that. And if you lose it, you want to be working on getting it again. I even get the shield even when I already have it. I try to get it again anyway, because on this stage it's likely that I'm going to get hit anyway with the force shield and lose some force field health. So I like to try to restore that to full whenever I can. So I constantly try to get the shields when I can. So keep that in mind. Now with this boss, all you got to do is shoot these little layers. You got to flatten them all out pretty much, and then the boss dies. So you got all these little bumps on the bottom of the boss, and all you got to do is flatten them all out, and the boss will die. And it's pretty simple. I mean, it can get a little tricky. The homing missile can be a little tricky to dodge. Everything else is pretty easy to dodge, but the missile's a little tricky. But you can be pretty aggressive. You don't have to spend too much time dodging shit. As you saw, I just worked my way from left and right, taking out all the mounds and trying to avoid what I could. Hopefully you have a few lives to cash in at that point and can kind of just bum rush it a little bit. You know, you don't have to play perfectly if you can get there with a few lives. I think I had 4 or 5 lives when I got there, so I was in pretty good shape. But yeah, as mentioned, one of the biggest issues is going to be getting too many speed ups. And then even when you collect your ghost after you die, you're going to be hyper sped up. So you got to be careful with that. It's better to avoid not collecting too many of them. Maybe get 1 or 2 speed ups, but that's it. But you're probably going to accidentally collect a few more, and you're going to have a super sped up character. And you're going to want to collect your ghost, you know, but because you want to get your other power-ups back, but it can kind of work against you if your ghost is super sped up. But that's really about it. The main pacing of the game is to try to keep that, you know, try to keep your force field going. So, you know, work on collecting it even when you already have it, and try to chain it throughout the entire game if you can. Aside from the other power-ups I mentioned that are useful. If you have any other questions, let me know, and thanks for watching.